I'm super excited to share this colorful resin bloom coaster set which I just finished making. That was the sound of fully cured blooms, ready to be finished into functional coasters. These are the 4 resin blooms which I already made. We have this fantastic scarlet double layered velvety coxcomb textured piece with a dark mica pigment base. This double layered firework inspired bloom coaster with a night sky color palette is a cheerful piece of resin art. This one has 2 layers of bloom effects, brought to life with a yellow and white offset against a dark background. And finally, this bloom has a deeper, clear base layer with well-defined petals, one of which seems to be windswept. The background is dark but translucent, peppered with pigments. It is time to tackle the coaster holder itself, the perfect piece to store and display the 4 coasters. This mold has a solid square base, engineered to match the defined depth of our coasters. You can see the 4 corner supports here. These create the essential structure, forming an octagonal cutout where the coasters will sit. I'm going to use some sea salt and we are going to mix it with resin. It's necessary to mix it properly with the resin so that the salt is not exposed to the atmosphere. I also added some gravel to it just to give it a little texture. The use of salt here is not just for texture. Salt is a timeless symbol of purity and hospitality. Incorporating it into the holder brings that deeper significance to the coaster which sits at the heart of your table. It is better to go in little chunks so that you can sort of take care of the air along the way. I need some more of this salty gravel mixture. Let's top it up with a little more resin this time. This mix should not be so dry as to leave too much air in between. I expect that I still might have some air pockets, but that should be okay. And in fact, it would be interesting. I'm hoping that the gravel will sink and leave me with a little bit of a gap because this final layer is going to be the bloom. I didn't want the salt to be at the edge because I don't know if it impacts the setting time of the resin. Let's get the bloom mix ready. It's going to be alcohol ink plus some white mica pigment powder. Adding the mica pigment to the resin mix gives it a texture and also lends it a little bit of, let's say, shimmery weight. I'm going to pipe this mixture. My coasters are colorful, but I want this holder to be simply black and white. This will be a visually heavy piece because of the 4 salt pillars. Adding color is going to be counterproductive. At this point, I'm really nervous because one drop in the wrong location is going to make the whole piece pretty difficult to recover from. No mistakes. This has become a bit of a combination of techniques. The drops will create streaks and the stream will create full body petals. I'm curious to see how this hybrid would result in a bloom. Let's define the petals now. First, I'm going to pull the resin in from the edge towards the center. Now, I'm going to pull the resin from the center towards the edge to give the petals a little bit of definition. Let's add some more interest to the outer petals. They are looking way too conventional at this point. The blobs which are here in the corner will not be visible once the salt is placed. But I added them because they will be visible from the side when you're looking at the clear layer of resin between the salt and the background. Since for all my coasters this layering is pretty visible, I wanted the same for the coaster holder. While the resin is curing, let's level down the edges of these coasters and get them ready for the next step. These coasters are wide, almost as wide as my sandpaper strips, so I can't really move it around the paper as I do with smaller objects. I have to guide my hands a little slowly, but it's actually easier to sand something if my hands are moving a little fast. I'm not going for doming at the back. I'm leveling it instead because I want the edges to be completely flat to better adhere to the felt which I'm going to add later. I decided not to dome the front either, as I felt doing so would make them too bulky. Furthermore, the flat surface of a coaster doesn't allow for the useful magnification that a curved dome finish provides to smaller objects. The resin is quite hard now. My pieces are now level and ready for the next step. The sound you hear every time I stack the coasters is a chance that these sharp edges of the resin will scratch into the surface of the next coaster. This is why I am using the felt sheet to line the back. It will protect the surface of the next coaster, and it will also be a better detail for the coaster overall for when it is placed on a glass top or a nicely finished surface. Coasters are meant to protect the surface on which a warm or cold beverage is placed. If the coaster itself is damaging the surface, then it is not of much use and it will just be ornamental. So, if you are planning to give somebody resin coasters like this, make sure that you pay attention to these details and make it functional, otherwise it's just going to be something which remains in the display cabinet. I want my coasters, I want this gift, to be functional. By the third coaster, I realized that I was doing it wrong while cutting the felt. I was going across the edge absolutely straight. And that was resulting in a bit of a lip because of the thickness of the blade. What I needed to do was angle my blade a little. Now I'm going to make sure that the felt is properly pressed into the resin, feeling with my fingers that there are no air pockets along the way, and this is ready to go. Now with this blade angling, I'm getting a much better result at the first go, and I'm not having to do it twice. This is also reducing the chance of my blade scratching the coaster edge as it moves along it during the felt cutting exercise. Press the felt thoroughly into the resin and make sure there are no air pockets. Much better. Now my coasters are ready. Let's demold our coaster holder. Oh, look at that bloom. That looks good. I am so excited. The self-doming is absolutely perfect. The edge is clean and well done. Bravo, Resin. No lip whatsoever. And look at that gap. You can see a little bit of that white layering on the side. This is exciting. Let's get it out of the mold. Oh, look at that little gap. It's looking pretty interesting, isn't it? Would you have left this gap if you were making this coaster? Let me know in the comments. I would love to know. Let's restore our mold to its original shape so that it doesn't get deformed. I might be biased towards my own work, but this is beautiful. So geometric yet soft. I'm loving the way resin is moving like ribbons, coming together and moving away from each other in a dance and creating these petals. It's gorgeous. There's a slight translucent look to it and the finish is absolutely perfect. The simple white and black paired with the salt corners is making this resin project a standalone work of art in its own right. Our coasters fit, and that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Our bloom themed resin coaster holder is now ready. Look at how the salt is framing these coasters. Perfect. The white is doing a great job contrasting with the colors. It's like a frame which is holding all these little art pieces in place. When I'm stacking these, I have left the edges uncolored because I love looking at the layering of the blooms from the side. It looks so unique to the recipient. Even when you can't see the surface, the side tells you that each coaster is unique. You can customize these blooms to whichever style you want, add whatever colors you choose, and cast in any shape you like. The neutral color theme of the holder is contrasting the color of these individual coasters so nicely. After adding the felt, the coasters have lost their translucency, so I'm glad I used accent layers during my bloom castings, so my backgrounds are tinted and not all completely black. I absolutely adore the way this is turned out. I hope you enjoyed the making of this resin gift idea and it inspired you to create some holiday gifts of your own. Happy crafting and have a wonderful day. I decided to add a little felt to the base of this coaster itself. Not the whole surface, just the corners. I don't want to take away the translucency of this piece by adding felt everywhere. Also, the domed finish was just too fantastic to sand down for the felt. This is better. Now the bottom surface is a little away from the table and allows for some light to come through, highlighting the bloom a little more.